Late at night, a man walks down the road drinking wine, and suddenly he feels something staring at him.
Christ, you damn near got yourself killed. What the hell are you?
When the man reappeared, he was a zombie. There was a fatal wound on his chest, resembling the impact of an arrow. This man was Justin, who had been banished by Rick. The next day, Justin's body was discovered, sending shockwaves through the entire camp. The saviors confronted the rest of the community, thinking someone was trying to hurt them. So there was a confrontation. Alden rushes into the middle of the crowd and yells at them to stop, promising to find out who's responsible. But the man at the head of the saviors still won't let up and punches Alden directly in the face while he's speaking. The saviors banned from carrying guns in 5 communities, making them feel unsafe. Daryl intervened, placing her hand on her holstered gun, and ordered the saviors to stop causing trouble and return to their duties. But the men retorted that they wouldn't go back, and that it would be better to shoot them than to be killed in secret. Seeing that the saviors refused to back down, other community members took up arms. Some in the saviors speculate that it was Daryl who did it. After all, Daryl and Justin had a dispute. Others suspected Jotties, driven by a desire for revenge, or even a possible alliance between them. So the saviors are going on strike. They're taking up arms to protect themselves. Arat tried to stop them, but the 2 men ignore Arat and call on the others to fight. Gabriel won't allow anyone to hurt his girlfriend. He's at the front of the line. As the battle rages on, Rick finally arrives on horseback. Rick still has some respect in the crowd. The saviors stopped. Laura sees them calm down and urges them not to do this. It will only create more conflicts. Alden also promised to give everyone an explanation. The saviors then reluctantly retreated. Rick then took charge, ordering pairs of individuals to venture out and eliminate nearby zombies. After the crowd dispersed, Alden approached Rick with a proposal to grant some members of the saviors access to firearms for self-defense. Maggie was the first to object, labeling them untrustworthy. Alden, however, argued that individuals like Laura and Arat had reformed and could be trusted. After careful consideration, Rick decided to first ascertain the identity of the murderer before considering the appropriate distribution of firearms. Rick didn't want to do it this way either. It's just that the saviors are the main workforce for bridge repairs, and the situation is really bad right now. They used to think that the 6 people who escaped might have been killed just like Justin. They have no choice but to distribute weapons to stabilize the troops. Maggie didn't say anything after hearing this. Then they looked at the bodies in the car. Rick is a police officer. Justin's chest was obviously wounded by an arrow, and there was also a knife wound on his neck. Rick's mind made some guesses. Afterwards, Rick found Daryl and brought up the topic of the wounds. Daryl said with dissatisfaction, "If I wanted to kill Justin, I would have done it openly. Even though I don't know who killed him, I know that gathering these people together would eventually lead to something like this." Rick shook his head, a point of contention between him and his close friend. Rick believed that the future belonged to everyone. Daryl questioned Rick again. Why do these people get to have a future, while Glenn doesn't? And Abraham and Sasha, and all the people from the kingdom who died? Which community hasn't had someone killed by the saviors? Have you ever thought about what all of us need? The killer doesn't have to pay for their mistakes and still gets to have the same future as everyone else. Why? Rick started delivering a bunch of high-minded statements again, talking about how people shouldn't be killing each other. Daryl shook his head, deciding to head outside. Following Rick's orders, the group split into pairs to clear out the zombies in the area. If they encountered anything, they were to contact each other through their walkie-talkies. Soon, Maggie and Cindy, forming a team, stumbled upon a house. The metal sheet on the roof was making noise and attracting a group of zombies. Maggie has not fought for a long time. She is going to lead the zombies away from the front, and then find a chance to kill the zombies. Cindy, on the other hand, is trying to figure out how to get the iron plates off the top of the house to avoid attracting more zombies. Maggie led away 4 zombies. There's another zombie in front of the house, and Cindy walks up to take it out. Then Cindy approached the front door of the house. There were still some zombies inside, but since they couldn't get out, she decided to ignore them. Cindy just wants to take the tin off the roof. Cindy fell straight through the rotting planks of wood. At this moment, the seal on the door of the house was also broken, and zombies started emerging from inside. Fortunately, Maggie swiftly dealt with the 4 zombies she had lured away earlier and rushed back. Due to her pregnancy and leadership responsibilities, Maggie hadn't been in a fight like this for a while. However, her combat skills were still very proficient, thanks to the numerous battles they had gone through together. The situation wasn't looking good for Cindy. The zombies pounced on her, leaving her defenseless. Inside the house, There were too many zombies for Maggie to be able to assist Cindy. Just when Cindy was struggling, a crossbow bolt was shot, killing the zombie that was attacking her. Meanwhile, Maggie skillfully took down the last 3 zombies in her area. It was Rick and the others who had arrived just in time. Seeing Cindy catching her breath, Daryl asked with concern. Maggie also picked up a pitchfork and removed the metal sheet from the roof. Rick and the group were here because the team they sent to clear District 5 hadn't responded. They suspected something had gone wrong and were on their way to investigate when they came across Maggie and Cindy. There was a person lying in the woods. After a quick examination, they found that she was only unconscious. It turned out to be a member of their group from Oceanside. Daryl quickly looks around and picks up the weapon on the ground, which is supposed to be their Oceanside's fish gun. At Cindy's call, Beatrice woke up. Rick hurriedly asked what had happened. Beatrice explained that she didn't know either. She and Arat were patrolling together, but as they were heading towards the road, someone attacked them from behind. Now things were getting strange. Maggie also surveyed the area and found Arat's personal weapons and walkie-talkie. Maybe it was the guy who killed Justin. Clearly, they were specifically targeting the Saviors. Back at camp, Rick gathered the key members. The situation had become quite tricky. The Saviors still had no idea about Arat's disappearance. Otherwise, they would undoubtedly be in a state of panic and likely leave the area. That would disrupt their plans to complete the bridge repairs before the high tide. In the end, Rick decided to temporarily withhold this information. The team sent out had to find her, dead or alive. No matter what, Rick and Carol formed one team to search. They both knew that Arat might already be dead. However, they had no choice. They had to find the killer. Otherwise, the Saviors might engage them in direct conflict. Today's conflict was just the beginning. Daryl and Maggie formed another team, discussing Rick's approach as they walked. Maggie was also conflicted. She couldn't bring herself to forgive Negan like Rick could, especially since her husband had died at his hands. But Rick's approach did have its benefits for the future and for their descendants. As they spoke, they suddenly heard sounds of zombies nearby. Approaching, they saw a paralyzed zombie, and Maggie easily dispatched it. Daryl walked over to the other zombie and noticed that it had an arrow sticking out of it. He seems to have thought of something. Nightfall came. Daryl led Maggie to a school. This used to be Oceanside's residence. Daryl's suspicion fell on the group of women from Oceanside. It was likely that the missing members of the Saviors had been taken by them. The wounds on Justin's body are probably from a fish gun. As they approached the entrance, voices could be heard from inside. At that moment, Arat's head was being held at gunpoint. Daryl and Maggie came in with their weapons. Indeed, it was the group of women. Daryl lowered his weapon. He understood that these women were seeking revenge. Arat quickly pleaded for help from Daryl. Cindy sighed, saying that this place used to be their home. Her mother and grandmother had found this place for their group. They used to have a lot of people here. Men, women, children, everyone believed in a hopeful future. However, the Saviors arrived. Simon wants their supplies. This woman gave the order. The Saviors killed all their men, including her brother. Later, they fled and took refuge by the seaside. Then your people found us and asked us to join in resisting the Saviors. We gave you guns and fought alongside you. Rick eventually ended the war, urging everyone to let go of their hatred. They didn't oppose because they had no choice, until Maggie hanged Gregory, which made them realize that Rick's rules weren't the only ones. Maggie pointed them in a different direction. Eventually, Daryl and Maggie left, deciding not to reveal this information. No one had the right to tell them to let go of their hatred, as they themselves couldn't. Glenn, Abraham, Sasha, who could forgive for them? Arat continued to plead from behind, but she had to face the consequences of her past actions. Was Rick's approach right? Nobody could say for sure. Meanwhile, Jotties returned to a familiar place. It seemed that Morgan had already left. Then, Jotties opened a concealed box, revealing an object wrapped inside. The walkie-talkie she used to contact the mysterious person. Last night, while on duty, Jotties saw a helicopter nearby. So, she tried to contact them again. Soon, a man's voice came through. It turned out Jotties had been wanting to leave with the mysterious person. The condition was to provide them with an A or B. I'm guessing that A and B refer to people, just different types of people. Suddenly, Jotties realized someone was behind her. It was Gabriel. Jotties doesn't tell the truth, just that she was doing something bad. But what happened to the Saviors had nothing to do with her. She didn't want to deceive Gabriel. She said she genuinely wanted to fit in with their group. But as he had seen, the moment something went wrong, people suspected her, even Rick. Today, when the Saviors charged at her, everyone stood aside except for him. Jotties extended her hand toward Gabriel, and he held it. she continued, saying he must promise not to tell anyone about this, consider it helping themselves, and in the end, they would have an unparalleled life. Gabriel shook his head after listening. He wasn't someone blinded by love. Rick had accepted him despite his past mistakes, so Gabriel couldn't keep this from Rick. Moreover, Gabriel had a sense that Jodi's deal might endanger the group. Jodi's understood Gabriel's stance and, without further insistence, knocked him unconscious. The next day, with no news of Arat, the saviors left as expected. Rick had no reason to stop them. Daryl and Maggie had yet to return. As Maggie had a new plan, she intended to secretly travel to Alexandria's safe zone and kill Negan. Maggie has always held her hatred deep in her heart because of Rick, and now the Oceanside people have inspired Maggie. Naturally, Daryl supported Maggie. He would stay behind to stall Rick.